Welcome everybody to Blender Today Every Day, where we dive into the code today with Dalai. Okay, next question. The fastest episode ever. We had some audio issues. Okay, so here. The questions thread is on blender.today as always. There are a few questions that are not really related to Blender development, so those we might skip. If we have time, we're gonna of course cover all of them, but please focus on questions regarding the code itself, like I want to code this thing, how do I make it, how do I do it? So
and feel free to ask questions live as well in the top chat. In the chat we're just gonna repeat then, and I think it's a nice interaction a little bit.
Exactly, this is live for a reason. Otherwise we might as well just upload the offline video. So please, if you have any questions on the chat, we're keeping an eye on it as we go. So when will be 3.0? There is code.blender.org, and you will find a thread called Blender LTS and 3.0. And speaking of LTS, which is the next release, 2.83, it's today we already picked the author of the next splash. We can't say anything yet, but because it's nicer as a surprise. This person, he or she, doesn't even know yet, so no, doesn't know yet.
You're still to tell them. Oh wow.
No, I think you're the I asked Don, and then I asked you. No, I told you, and this was proposed by the previous splash author. So okay, anyway, so he knows too. Anyway, no more. Oh, maybe I could. No, shall we announce it?
No, let's
no. This Friday, by the way, is gonna be the episode 100 of Blender Today. But today is Code Dive Day, so nice matching t-shirt and bottle. Let's go through the code. You have some code there just to show us. So what are we going to see now? What are we going to learn today from you?
It's really up to, I don't even know what people want to learn. Right? Last time we did it an overall view of the file structure in Blender, how you organize things.
Yeah.
It followed the week afterwards, right? I did on the day afterwards, I did the more complete bug fix. I actually went to show how long it might take to actually address an issue. It was about 3.5 hours long. And we have a few options. You mentioned we could be showing some patches, maybe you could be showing some changes. Do say.
Yes, my idea for this episode was we could go through some patches, just some people from the community that propose patches, and what is like the best practice, or what is the detailed things that should be tackled when submitting a patch. What is a patch? How do you even make a patch? So patch.
Right.
Yes. Do you want
Let's how to make a patch. I'm thinking about what we could show live, but maybe you can start showing the developer.blender.org.
Yes, the patch tracker.
Because this is where every single patch goes to, every single task, a bug report. And most of the work for Blender developers is structured around the developer.blender.org.
Here's where everything happens. So basically, here's where the code lives, basically. And where the code gets reviewed, when you report a bug, also goes there. So everything happens in developer.blender.org. Everything that is code related that is happening in Blender. So for proposals, we have rightclickselect.com, is a community website for discussion, and asking a developer is like, hey, how do you think I should tackle this issue? Or so we have devtalk.blender.org. All these links are available in code.blender.org. So we have many websites, but you can find here that one is the forum, which is DevTalk developer portal, where it's actually the code happening, and here's like the news stuff. So the developer.blender.org is a place where you can find tasks, task is everything, right? Is from a
task is a generic name, goes from either a patch not really necessarily, but like a bug, a design task, a to-do, that's an internal task document created from developers to developers, so not something that has to be triaged.
Yeah.
And patch is it's something altogether, something separate.
Yes, a patch could be a task or many tasks even. Design task. There is two types of tasks. There is the design tasks and the any other like code tasks, or a design task is about design itself of a tool.
And I was thinking, since we're talking about going over patches,
yes,
and we have Antonio in the audience, why don't you go over the patches he sent that are still open?
Let's do it. Let's do it. So Antonio Vazquez is in the chat right now. He is the developer of the Grease Pencil, of pretty much everything in Grease Pencil nowadays, or the rewrite that went on in the last few years. So he's working every day. We have a chat where, like on blender.chat, where you can see the action going on, and now they're working on some of the randomized options for Grease Pencil. So I don't know if that's a patch already. Which patch are you talking about? Do you have the
I'm going to be sharing my screen. That's going to make it easier to talk over it.
Okay, yes.
So what I did here, I went over, let me increase the font a little bit, right?
Yes, please.
Went over the fabricator, differentials, which is where the patches are.
Differential, very nice.
It's because of diff, right?
Yeah,
and I added here, okay, let's see if there's any, but anyways, I added here Antonio Vazquez. So those are the patches that he authored that are still yet to be reviewed. I believe those are probably patches that were supposed to be abandoned already, because they're quite old.
What is an abandoned patch?
Abandoned is a patch that has no future moving forward. That's what it is.
And a patch gets automatically abandoned, or is it a human process?
No, someone has to go over and abandon it. So for instance, this is one of them. So what happens, the author sends the patch.
Yeah.
It comes with a description, and it has to also include an overall summary, which is to be an explanation of what you're doing and why you're doing the changes you were proposing. And it's supposed to be seen, written from the user point of view. Like, what does this patch adds to the final product?
Okay.
Antonio's saying, yeah, I need to review some old patches. But those are the patches you sent, Antonio.
Yes.
So for instance, he sent over here, he added me as a reviewer right away. And so the moment the patch gets into the system, we can start having a conversation, like the developers, reviewers. Usually the person usually they shouldn't assign someone. At least nowadays we're trying to change this a little bit, but it should at least tag the correct project.
Yep.
In this case, a big Grease Pencil. And then the developers in this module can go over there and start talking to the developer. Yep. Blah, blah, blah. And you're talking here back and forth. Not totally sure if those changes are correct. And then, although that's interesting, although I was the one assigned to review, you can see that another developer, who is the one more knowledge in this area, was also providing feedback. As far as I'm concerned, Grease Pencil modifiers can point something very specific to the patch. That's I think beyond the scope of the conversation here to actually go into it. But it's nice to illustrate that. So this shows which parts of the code the patch touched, and the patch can be updated throughout the conversation. So if the developer suggested that a few adjustments have to be made, then the regional contributor can go and update incrementally. Something very cool is something like this.
This is
the developers, they're able to provide like direct feedback,
line by line.
Line by line.
And the kind of feedback, how does the process go? Like at the beginning, do you get, like, even if the feature, is there like a process where you say, okay, this feature is not even considered, and then do you even look at the patch, or you say like, okay, let's look at the patch first, and which step do you go? If the idea is great but the code is not, what happens, for example?
Right. So of course, you might feel tempted to treat someone like Antonio differently because you know that he's already maintaining a whole area of Blender, right?
Yeah.
But even though he has commit access, that doesn't excuse a developer to actually go through the due process, which is still explain what's the patch is about, still explain what's the point of this, provide documentation when relevant. And indeed, the first step into patch review can be even considered a sort of triaging, where you go over the patch, you look at the design and say, you know what, this feature itself doesn't fit into the current Blender design, or needs a bit more polishing, without even getting to the code itself, right? So this would be like a first triaging when it comes to patch review. A second one is almost like something that could be automated, and we're getting close to that, which is a very like brainless review, such as typos or naming or following conventions when it comes to how to structure the code style, how to have comments in the code. For instance, this is fundamentally wrong. Here I would always say, please follow code style convention.
Okay.
Starts with. So this is the kind of thing that so many people can help, that doesn't need to be the person, doesn't need to be someone like Brecht, for instance, that needs to go over the patch and do those things. The okay. Starts, comments.
This guy is someone like Brecht, is someone like that that he can do much more important things than just going through the code and like finding typos or code guidelines and stuff. Anybody from the community even could do it.
There's no, yeah, exactly. Or at least it's nice for people to see, to maybe look at other patches to realize what is the first thing that pops up into that pops up to anyone's eyes, so they avoid making those, let's call it, mistakes when they provide their own patch. Like this is also a no-go, like what's happening here, Antonio?
Okay, in the chat, yeah, Antonio says I think I need to review all patches. Yes.
And I mean, Antonio's such a nice guy. I mean, I just
he is
taking this as an example because I know he can take all this. This is an example of the, but this again is also a very small patch. So usually every patch would go through this different process. We have a document in the wiki page.
Yes.
Which now
that's
I learned.
What I was gonna ask. It's like you said, follow the guidelines. Where are those guidelines?
So if you go on.
Do you want me to go, or you go now?
I'm trying to find them though.
Wiki.blender.org, and then there is development code documentation style guide on the sidebar.
Okay, yeah, that one. That one I was thinking about something else. So
okay,
this would be like here, since C++. So in that case, I would also link the comment style specifically.
Yes.
If it was about naming, I'd list it here. If it was comments, switch statements. A lot of these, not all of it, is covered in this thing called Clang format.
Yeah.
So if you're, maybe I can do that. Let me share my code screen again.
Yeah. Antonio mentions that these patches are very old, and they are really old. They are actually from 2018, when there was no even a page with the style guides, or like there was, but you have to ask on the chat in IRC even. So what we're doing here is not really fair. We're just picking one that because also we could pick someone from the community, but it's not very nice if you don't know them. It's also not very nice here, but Antonio is a friend. Besides being a developer, he's also a friend, so he's a good person that we know. Not like if you look at the whole patches that he's doing nowadays, it's nothing like that. It's just something that was there.
Good. After this disclaimer,
just saying.
So right now, for instance, if I'm doing this here, this is a code, right? And if I save, you can see that it's automatically shifting things around.
Yeah, what happens?
Number of space. I will save and bang.
It removes.
It removes, in this case, it was removing empty spaces. The other example, if I have this here and then add this and this, and if I save it, so this line here, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, bow.
Wow.
It should there you go.
There you
Better. Go. So we use this thing called Clang format, Clang out format.
Clang, like C-lang?
Yes, C-lang out format, which you need to set up in your IDE, in your programming environment. And that allows you to follow the code style in 95%, which also means developer doesn't need to go to the patch and then state the very obvious, like please put a space before the thing and then bang.
Okay, so how is this? This is a convention, right? The Silang is or Clang is something that many other softwares use, and it's just to new developers that are joining Blender. There is easier for them to read and for them to style things without actually having to have a website where to learn that.
And even for, let's call, seasonal developers, it makes everyone very lazy. Because the example I was giving is a bit exaggerated, but quite often if I'm coding, and I know a lot of people will do the same, I'll do whatever here, like for int e equals 0. So we just have to stop. We managed to. Let me just make it nicer, this style here. So the whole Clang format allows for developers to not worry about style anymore. That's the beauty of this. So bang, the whole thing gets formatted automatically.
Wow. Is it hard to, like, is it easy to set it up in Visual Studio, or is it like a package?
Super easy to set it up.
It's a new package or so?
It's a package. So it's a package called, I think it's actually installed. I'm almost sure it's installed by default, but if it's not, it's the Clang format one. This one. Oh. It's the one I'm using. And you just install it.
People, so yes.
And then this is the option I'm using, the format on save. It is all explained in the Blender wiki, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then you just set up the Clang environment, and then the Blender itself is just using the hard part in Blender to start using that was to get everyone to compromise to what's a reasonable format for everything. Like, so we have this one file that describes this whole thing.
Because some prefer to, like, I don't know, tab spaces, remove the line, new line.
Yeah, some would prefer like for this to be here and then here, and then the brackets to be on the same line as the other one.
Or if they get a new line. So basically, yeah, I mean, I guess as long as everything is consistent, then it's okay.
Yes, and the way I say it, it makes it easier for you to read the code regardless of the area of Blender.
Okay.
Before, you'd have each file, each part of Blender would be very specific on their own conventions, and then whenever you have to switch to different areas, it gets a bit harder to read the code. So this is a way to separate the noise from the information itself. So formatting should be out of the way. You're looking at the code.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Okay, so it's, I think, with patches. Do you have anything else you wanna share with the patches? Once a patch is approved, once everything is done, what is the process? What happens with that patch? Who decides on what to?
So a patch. Oh, I have way too many screens open here. Okay, a patch. So those are. We're looking at the patches that I sent in my life.
Okay, so even you with all the experience, even Brecht and everybody, they make patches and they go through a code review.
Yes, and over time you try to reinforce this a bit, more strictly. Yeah, because it helps a lot. So this is an example. This is the patch that was actually that I covered in that video. In the 2-hour
the video that it's also on. No, it's on the Blender Developers YouTube channel.
And somehow I forgot to close it.
Okay, we can close it live then.
Can close it live then, definitely. So again, I sent the patch. I already knew that I talked to Ricard before. So Ricard, you've been doing caching in Blender. Please, can you review it? He looked at it. He said, I don't think that's the right solution. I think that blah, 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 I need to do something different. And I said, not really. And he said, you're right.
Nice.
And then I said, oh, true. So at that moment, so this is where just like going back and forth. But at some point he found that the approach was really not ideal. So he actually did this thing that's called request change to revision. Which then, if you go to through the patch, you can see that, okay, the patch, now this was already accepted, but it shows that this patch is waiting for action from the developer or not. And it has, please fix this and that, so we can talk about it. And then we talked, and he said, oh, actually, never mind. This approach is correct. So he accepted. And then I said, okay, so I'm going to commit. But the problem is, and I think the reason it wasn't closed, is because I only mentioned, I should have mentioned the full line here. So the system we use, it's called Fabricator, it automatically closes the patches if the patch is committed, if you follow some procedures, which I didn't. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close revision. This was already committed.
Cool. So you select the action, close it. Bam, it's done.
Done, closed. Now let's go back to it. So if you see now, it shows as a grayed out.
When if I'm a user, if I'm a user and I want to submit a patch, should I select the reviewers?
No.
Okay.
Not without talking to them first.
Okay. How do I know who to talk to?
You don't have to. You can just, if you want, just assign a module.
A module. Okay. So in this case,
so if we create a new, you'd create the patch, and then you'll be able to go to your patch. Let's go to this patch here, which you can see the reviewer is user interface. This is a way of, the other way, the one I usually think nowadays are recommending to do, is to add not in the reviewer, but to add in the subscriber. So when you go to the patch after you submit it, because you need to submit via the command line, you go here and do then user interface. The rule of thumb you're trying to do, and that's still like in the process of changing, is that if someone is marked as a reviewer, that person then has to review, otherwise it's not approved. Even so, if there is me and you assigned as a reviewer, and I review it and I think it's totally fine, I should go as far as removing you as a reviewer. So it's clearly communicated, okay, this is actually not waiting for anyone, or if it's still. And then once it's approved, a developer with commit access, which it's not everyone, so we get way more contribution. Well, if someone's sending a patch, they won't be able to directly commit to the Blender, to send it to the final change to the Blender code, but any developer with commit access can go over that and just
push it.
Just push it, yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I think that covers patches. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Oh, there's one thing, but I'm having some troubles finding. So,
what?
If I find, is the patch it's kind of a checklist on what to put in a patch. I think I just found it actually. No, we did not. So we have a field
for users.
So if you go to the wiki for development, we have a few pages explaining what's a patch, how to send a patch, how to apply a patch, how to create it, how to use Arcanist. It's a bit small, right?
A little bit, yeah.
There we go.
Creating a patch, reverting a patch.
Yeah, but the one I'm looking for is, it's because we talked about that. We didn't fully reinforce it. So I don't think I ported over, but it doesn't matter.
So it's in tools, patches.
Yeah, but anyway, there's plenty of things for people to read here. Should be fine.
Yeah, but where did you go?
Oh, I went to the wiki.blender.org, the main page. I went to process.
Yes.
And then we have projects. We have, in this case, we're looking to patches.
Contributing code.
I went to the site. I actually just searched patch, to be honest, Pablo.
Okay.
Here, I went to contributing code, and then we have patch explanations. We have how to submit a patch, which is not even the ideal way nowadays, but it's okay. How to go over code reveal, how to handle
everything.
The whole process is plenty to be read, yeah.
So patches, is it possible to submit patches for, does it have to be like in C or Python, or like any area on Blender could receive patches, basically?
Yeah, but that means C, Python, and C++, yes.
Anything, really.
And yeah.
Okay, changes to the key map, changes to the user interface. It's all part of user interface in that case.
Yes,
example.
of course, if you're really into getting started into the Blender development, it's really nice if you could try to find an area that is that appeals to you, and that's already part of the roadmap of the module. That might be it a bug fix, might be it a feature that it's already described, might be... Honestly, if you feel adventurous, you can even go over Google Summer of Code ideas lists for previous years, maybe.
Yeah.
And then, oh, this actually seems very nice project. And
that's also on the wiki.
That's also on the wiki, yes. On here, like on the side panel, Google Summer of Code.
Yes, it's also on the homepage, wiki, and then ideas and suggestions, even from as far back as 2005.
Yeah, which some of them might be a bit outdated.
Like how to add ray tracing.
So small.
Wow, even. Okay, yeah, this is a bit much. Fluid simulation, IK. Oh my gosh, look, the second one.
Is this the same news from...
Yeah, but the second one, look at that student. The student, Brecht van Lommel, like the creator of Cycles.
19-year-old Brecht.
19-year-old, mentored by Ton Roosendaal.
Oh my god.
In a version of OS X which is not even available anymore. It's not even called OS X, it's Mac OS. It's crazy. Geely, what happened to Geely? Verse integration. We have someone asking about it on Friday.
Oh wow.
On the live stream. It's crazy.
So nice. Go back in time like this.
You can really find...
But anyway, so ideas, you can also go to right mouse click selection. There's plenty of good ideas there.
Exactly. Right click select.com, or here in the Blender community website on the side, you're gonna find the community right click select with a lot of like suggestions by the community. So here's right click select. You're gonna find the like even small ones, or like, I don't know, adding a theme setting, for example. That's small, rather small. Some of them are rather big, but yeah, good to check.
So someone has asked a question which I don't really know if I can fully help, but was asking where can find in the code how to compute UV roughness for anisotropy in principle BS DF.
All right, and the answer?
Oh, it's inside cycles, and I mean, depends if you're doing it for cycles or for Eevee, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I understand a little bit of this, or actually touched code that's around that area, but oh my god, but I can maybe we can start going to you said there are a few questions in the in the Blender community web page.
37 questions. So okay, let's get started. Number 1. And hola desde Buenos Aires. Thanks for making these code dives. As an inspiring developer, it's really useful. So straight to the question: are there any plans or ideas about making sound nodes for the speaker object? I'm interested in developing that side of Blender. So sound nodes for the speaker object.
There's no plans for that.
Who's the maintainer of the speaker object?
Well, it's still Jorg Muller.
Yeah, the creator of that space.
He's still around, and
so go to where in the wiki, like not in the wiki, sorry, in developer.blender.org to the sound module, I guess.
Yes, well, so the sound module is part of the
VFX and video.
Yeah.
VFX and video. So go there.
Go there, or just go to Dev Talk, and if we were serious about this idea, just try to think about a design for this before even starting code, and post there.
Yeah.
Try to find a developer. If there's no one replying, let me know.
Would be nice. Like sound, like nodes for sound, nodes for lamps in Eevee will also be nice. All right, next question. So hello Pablo, hello Dalai. I just want to shout out to you. Thank you very much for the almost Blender every day. Yes. I think I need to change the name, but it's your everyday use of Blender. Last week I installed Ubuntu and CentOS on a virtual machine and tried to compile Blender from the ground up. Somehow it didn't work on CentOS. but it's fun to get my hands slowly getting started. I can also recommend to everybody, Blender works way faster on Linux. Yes, that's true.
Is it though?
I don't know. When I tried Blender on Windows, it was just open very slow. It was super slow to open, like 5 seconds, when it's like less than a second to open here. Like, bam, close, and it's just, and it's the same computer. It's just, I don't know. But that doesn't mean the rest is slow. I don't know. Next question. So, hello Pablo, hello Dalai. It's good to see Code Dive again. I have one proposal for Pablo. Proposal. Okay. So you ask us, why did we think about the streams? If there's anything you could change for the better. So we already have Blender today, Blender recap, Blender every day. What about Blender yesterday? Tell us about Blender 1.0 or the new features of Blender 2.4.
Oh, that's nice.
I would love to. I didn't use Blender 1.0. I think I wasn't even, no, I was born yet, of course. But no, as back as I can go is Blender 2.23. That's my first version. So I can talk about that one. The question for Dalai is, I'm getting myself familiar with the Blender source code, but sometimes I feel dumb and stuck in a dead end. If I want to add some new parameter to an operator, what is the best practice to track the way Blender from Blender menu item to exact code of line or file?
Well, that's a pretty good question, and it ties to a little bit what we mentioned last week, which is a nice way to start into Blender core development is to maybe prototype something as a Python add-on, some operators, and then see how to make it into a reality, into the Blender core C code.
You know,
so,
no, like you know how I do it. My way of doing things is I just search the code for the tooltip. And then from the tooltip, I go to like I land in the RNA usually of that operator.
I do this all the time.
You do it? Okay, so it's not maybe too bad. I think it's maybe like, okay, maybe it's not the official way. I go through the tooltip and then I go back up the the line. I go back to, okay, RNA. What is the operator? Okay, this is the section. This is the description, and then go back to the operator and then the actual piece of code, the functions, and then go up. The ladder.
It's really, and I even do like if I'm, how in those editors, in these like code editors, you can usually go to a function and try to find all the reference, for example.
Yeah.
Go to, I don't want to find all references.
Find all references.
It usually works, okay? But honestly, what I do, I just go and then do a software-wide search into that string.
Yeah.
So for instance, I just go and search for it. Bang.
Yeah, well.
And honestly, I think it's even faster than actually finding all the references.
It is. I do that also, and I also, if I want to find sometimes I go via the icon or whatever, or the if you have the tooltips for Python enabled, you can also search for that, which is probably gonna give you even faster access. Here in the chat, Antonio says that he also uses that way, that workflow from the tooltip, run ascend as well, and yes, I think
it's super straightforward. So
okay,
don't feel down for being stuck. I mean, it really helps to do more and more to know how to navigate.
Yes.
Code.
Next question. So I just want to thank you and Dalai for your advices. I can build my own Blender and apply patches with Arcanist. Congratulations, Kusanagi. Now I patch all the time. Yay. With great power though, because patching all the time. And of course, I'll try to report the bug on stuff on developer page. Yes. Although if you patch your Blender a lot, and if you find a bug, maybe try to find out if the bug is in the patch or not before reporting. So Tom Kayakson says, Dalai and Pablo, where is the best place to find any high-level design diagram, showing the structure of the Blender code? Nice question.
For the areas of Blender that we do have, this is still in the wiki.blender.org. And
wiki.blender.org.
Yes, and if you know someone that's really good at techno writing, you can tell that person to write to me, because we're going to be looking for this kind of talents in the near future. Because the developers can only go as far as documenting the existing code and the existing functionality they're designing, and we are producing more documentation in that regard, like depth graph, multi-res, subsurface modifier. But I think we're still lacking this overall place where you start from that point, and from there you can take a look at every single area of Blender.
Good, and this is all in the wiki. Do you know
this
where?
This is all in the wiki. It's still going to be if you just go source architecture RNA. Want me to share it here?
RNA, source architecture. Yes, I should search for RNA, and here we can see that it was updated 12 years ago now. This documentation is
this Blender 2.5. It makes sense. But if you go
because the RNA is for Blender 2.5. Yes.
If you go one level up to the wiki source.
Yes, source. Ooh.
This will be the correct answer to that question.
Wow. Why is it not linked on the side? It's very detailed. B-mesh. Ooh. Anyway, so let's move on. This is actually a very good answer. Thank you, Dalai. Next question by Matthias says, hello, Pablo and Dalai. Thanks for all the efforts in making these videos. I'm looking forward to every episode. I have a question regarding compiling Blender. I'm just starting out, and it usually takes me around an hour or longer to compile Blender. I use the make commands with Windows. Can you explain a little bit what different ways of compiling Blender exists, and which one would you use after changing a few lines of code?
I'm trying to find what was this question, because I found it from Matthias Batchelder.
Yes, actually we talked about it today. Like it would be nice to have you don't have to recompile the whole Blender every time unless you change something in like DNA header or something.
Yeah, it does. So it depends on your operating system, which
Windows.
Windows. Yeah, I mean so Blender tries to do incremental building, which is try to build only the parts that changed. There's a second thing which is called linking, which takes the different parts of Blender and then combine them together. Linking takes time often. But the one rule of thumb is, if you disable components of Blender on CMake, then it's going to be way faster to rebuild it every time. What does it mean to do that? If you go to the Blender building steps from the developer, because I think you can just do make and you get the final build, right?
Yes.
But if you go through the proper way to use CMake, is my screen be shared, Pablo? I don't even know.
Ah, sorry. I was actually sharing on my screen. No, okay, your screen is not being shared.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not.
You're sharing yourself.
Twice.
Yes. You get a lot of lies. But I was actually sharing my CMake GUI, which is a GUI. I don't know if it's probably also for Windows, but it's basically a way where you can see what Blender is building. Oh, here. Ah, yeah, you have it a more.
Oh, you have the good one.
I have the actual guy. But we're looking at the same basically. So what you see here is CMake GUI. It's probably also for Windows. It maybe has a different name, but basically it's an interface for seeing the CMake file. Dalai is just looking directly at the CMake file, but here with the UI it's a bit easier because you can. I don't know if it's easier, it just looks nicer.
I don't know, I'm just getting used to it.
So for example, if you want to disable cycles because you're not really building, you're working on on something for a mesh tool, you don't need cycles, so you can just go here and disable cycles. You don't need it. Or maybe you want to compile without optics or OpenCL or CUDA, you can also disable that here if you don't have it.
Or there's a very special, not documented enough feature, which is a native option for building cycles.
Oh wow, what is that?
So if you build with native only, that means it only builds for the optimizations that are relevant to your computer. Let's put it this way. So because the cycles is built in a way that has how to say, optimized mathematical functions for different kind of processors. So SS3, SS2, AVX. I don't even know exactly what those means, but I know the names.
Just dropping some names.
Yeah, but then you can, but it takes time to build every single one of them. The kernels for every single shader, every single thing. So this is a way to build only the bare minimum ones.
No, not only that, but the if you search for width underscore, you're gonna find like the most interesting ones. And also, if I run into this a lot of the time, sometimes I had an issue with the FFmpeg library or with the OpenXR that it wouldn't compile. So you can just go here and disable those. I don't need Alembic, bam, now ciao Alembic, ciao Autospace. Well, Autospace is gonna fill other areas of Blender. Bullet for physics, codecs that you don't need. For example, if FFmpeg is giving you troubles, just remove it, disable it from here. You can bring it back anytime, but you can even remove modifiers or enable modifiers, because in the Blender 2.9 alpha branch, if you compile your own Blender, you can turn on with new simulation type, which is gonna enable the new simulation data block that was just added a few days ago. You can also disable smoke, remesh, the ocean sim modifier. Actually, I'm compiling without the ocean modifier. I don't really use that one.
I also recommend
subdiv, all the libraries.
Talking about the build info option.
Yes.
The build info option is what allows you the Blender to know what's the version of Blender that you built. So the hash that people use to report bugs.
So this thing in the header of in the top right of the splash screen.
Yes. But that means that every time you build a Blender, it's gonna necessarily rebuild the build info, because it has the time it was built and everything. So even if you didn't change any file in the code and just try to rebuild it, if you build with build info, it's gonna rebuild it.
Ah. Wow, so if you don't use it, just disable it, basically. And it's just the info that you're gonna find in the top right of the splash screen, which is actually disabled on the official releases, but it's enabled on the other one, the regular ones.
And the other important thing is, there are two. One of it is you can also see some tests that you can enable via CMake. It's nice to run them if you're testing different code.
Yeah.
And also it's important to then build with every single thing before sending a patch, before sending this to anyone. And this was a classic problem we had back in the Blender Game Engine days, because the Blender player, which was a standalone player for the Blender Game Engine, was its own CMake option. Then everyone would build without it, and even the default option was to build without it. And then people would often do a change in Blender unrelated to the build Blender, to the Blender player, and then it just crash the build for the Blender player, and then the Blender as a whole. So XR, for example, or Quadriflow, you can disable from here. So even if you're not a developer, but if you compile your own Blender, you can have a much lighter Blender, because you can remove things you don't use. So very, very handy. What is with Blender? That sounds so meta. With Blender. Is it Blender headers or? I don't know, I don't have the option there. I was showing on my screen, you can see I just quickly looked at the git log to see Blender player as a string. And all you see are exactly those fixed.
Oh, the stubs, yeah.
And the classic joke, you see this trademark or copyright.
All right, let's move into the next question. Thank you for that question. It's actually I think it's very interesting. I should even cut this as a new clip maybe, because people might find it useful. You could use okay, next question. So Simon always wanted to help with Blender development for the past year, so the recent videos on development were really inviting. So I finally made a small improvement showing accumulated render time for animation render. That's nice. I have a few questions on how to go on about this. I noticed a small bug in the same function. In some cases, separation character between two render statistics is not drawn. Should I submit as a separate patch for that, or are you fine with the feature plus closely related bug fix?
It's hard to tell without it should be a separate patch.
I think it should be a separate patch. I mean, I'm not a developer, but I think it's better if you don't mix, because even if the other patch doesn't get approved, the fix is there. And how to know who would be a good reviewer? we already covered this. Is basically for this case, for example, where the showing accumulated render time for animation render, is that UI interface or render? Or you can just like add Brecht the reviewer, and he's both. He's UI and render.
Is UI.
Okay, UI. Yes,
It's
but don't
UI,
tag
it's UI.
developers directly. All right, so thank you, Simon. Hoping to see this this patch. So, Ola, is there a way to keep the UVs or vertex weight when we use the remesh modifier? Okay, this is a Blender question. We are trying to cover over the Blender development questions. This one, some newer parts of Blender, as the depth graph, fluid simulation, and particle nodes, are written in C++. Are there some specific things for which that is necessary choice for those cases, or is it a design decision to slowly move into a newer language?
I have no idea what the question is really. Sorry.
What? Okay. Can you hear now? All right.
Yeah. That's fine. I could hear.
Some areas of Blender, some newer areas of Blender, like the fluid sim and depth graph, they are written in C++. Is there any reason why this is like, is it a necessary choice for those cases, or it's just a way to slowly move towards a newer language?
Well, it's I think those are projects that can properly leverage the benefits of a language as robust as C++. And so it's a bit of both. I think I'd say it's up to the developer, but it's up to the project, right? If for that project
makes sense
and it can be beneficial, and then there's no reason why not to do it.
And also,
would we vet to the developer, say, no, but I want to do it in C only? I don't know, that doesn't make sense, right? If for that problem C++ would give a more simple to maintain code and a better solution, that's the way we do.
And also, if it's a whole new section in Blender, like the new particle nodes, I guess that is C++, or I don't know.
Again, if it's entirely new, we haven't yet committed to this. If ask Sergey, he may say yes, but it depends on the part. We don't have. I don't think we're that committed to C++ to that extent, anyways.
Yet. All right, so I went down to the latest questions, the first questions that were asked. So the first one from the bottom up is, I want to flip the status bar to the top. Is that in a Python wrapper, or is it in C?
It's C, definitely C. Yeah, it's definitely C.
And
shouldn't be hard though.
Hard?
It shouldn't be hard. No, it's probably super straightforward.
Maybe it could even be an option. Make a patch.
Oh, not an option. No. As in, yeah, no, don't.
Hey, what? We're talking about patches today. I mean, I'm not saying it might be accepted, but like
what you're saying. If you do it for fun, why don't you share on DevTalk? There's actually a nice place for people to talk about it.
That's true. Yeah, but that is definitely C. It's its own editor even, right?
Yes. I don't even know where to look at it. I'll have to go to the whole
status _bar, and you don't have to right now. We can continue with the questions. So how does the converting between C code and Python work for the API, Python wrapper for the user interface? Do you have to change the code in BPY ops every time you add a new operator?
You do not have to change the Python code every time you add a new operator in C. So, okay, then that's it. So yeah, it's automatic. So every new operator you define in C, it gets automatically accessible through the Python API, the BPY ops. It's what they're referring. How does that happen? Is a bit of a magic, but Python allows you to expose certain things from C to their Python interface, like a wrapper that we do, and it just works. I never really bothered to understand how it's happening.
So the next two ones are actually Blender related questions, and there is one that says, I've tried to compile Blender on iPad but didn't succeed.
There's a few reasons for that.
So in one sentence.
In one sentence, you can't. You don't support
iPad OS.
So one sentence.
And I would think that as a really major task.
It involves porting Blender to Vulkan and then making sure the Vulkan to Metal works fine, and then make sure you have a nice way to interact with Blender using only touchscreen.
So touch events in Blender, not only like the technical side, but the interface kind of a thing. Blender, like many of the parts in Blender are shortcuts. How do you even do that in? So yeah, it's not gonna be an easy. If you try to do it, it's gonna be a long project. So Slug Nugget asks, "Hola champs, for now, how long will the development of new Blender versions be as rapid as it is now? I might have gotten spoiled by 2.8 rapid release cycles."
Well, nothing.
Well, you can
until further notice.
To code the Blender dork, right? I mean, the Blender LTS and 3.0. It's the blog post is still valid that says that we are gonna have Blender 2.90 in August.
Yes.
And 3.0 next year. 3.0 next year. Next year.
I mean, the worst thing that can happen, so the August deadline was also, the idea of August was also tied to the SIGGRAPH. It's a nice event. We have no idea if there won't be no SIGGRAPH this year, probably.
No, I don't think so.
So my point is, if we decided for whatever reason that this whole quarantine also affected our deliverables, maybe push it forward, but it should be just as business as usual.
As usual, Blender likely doesn't get really that much affected about it. Only that the people working on Blender are really bored because the Dutch government pushed the lockdown and the cancel of all the events until September. I just want to cry a little. I mean, no, cry about the situation. It's great that they're keeping people safe. It's just like
spoiled snowflakes.
No, but okay, it's okay. I can go to summer in Argentina later this year. Are there any plans to introduce shader nodes to plain text conversion integration in Blender?
No. Well,
not that I know.
Not that I know. We there's talk about what if we were to support the material X, right,
yeah,
which is the standard for material thing. But even that is nothing to do with text-based. But what they really want is a text-based file format, which is not in the plan. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I saw on Twitter there was a discussion about Polygon having support for substance materials, and I think Juan Rodriguez, Bone Studio, he proposed like, hey, why doesn't this company sponsors the implementation of Material X in Blender so they could talk with the Substance, which is actually a good idea. I think it's a good way to push development, is to like have a actual business implementing the work, and this will work as a patch, right? Like Alembic or like USD or
yeah.
Cool.
I'm going over some questions on the chat on YouTube.
Yes.
Someone is asking how Pablo Yagi is asking how it'd be a workflow to make a plugin for exporting a scene, how we should start making extension and API workflow, blah blah blah. So honestly, just try to think about another engine, either render engine or game engine, which is already doing something like what you'd like, and then build from there. Like
LuxCore add-on or Cycles?
Yeah, he's looking at a game engine, so
you can look Godot.
I think has some.
Yeah, Godot has its own. I think it's on GitHub, their own patch add-on.
But this can be done entirely with Python, so it's going to be one operator probably that you click. It's probably going to have per object properties. You might have your own node tree for materials. So when exported, then you can see them.
So looking at those is a good idea.
And then someone asked again, where can I find the code that computes U and V roughness for anisotropy in principal BSDF? It's in Cycles code and in the EV code. So
Cycles and Eevee.
Yeah.
A question from Blender today is, I've heard code merging is not that easy, so I was wondering how the code from Blender is getting merged. For example, how do you merge bug fixes from 2.82 to 2.83? Or do you?
Right. It's so a lot of the merging is actually not so complicated. It happens automatically by the tools people use. Git, in this case, can handle merging quite well. When it doesn't, it's manually. Someone has to go over, okay, that's the conflict. And conflict would happen when two people change the same line of code in two different moments. And we're gonna see a lot of this now for the Blender LTS. Oh God.
Yes.
Oh, gosh,
yeah.
I mean.
Gosh, don't say
and
religion stuff.
And basically we're gonna it's its own thing. Like ideally things just work fine, and a lot of the time they do, and there's some visual tools to help handling conflicts, like meld is one of those in Linux, super useful. In Windows you have the tortoise suite has a good one for Git, I think, as well. So, and it's really, there's nothing that can be done magically. Just either it works perfectly or you do it manually.
Yep, the merge tools basically. Just look it up.
And you do some things in this example, like how do you bring one fix here to there? There's this one command called cherry pick.
Cherry pick, yes.
Pick a cherry, which takes like this one commit from whatever version of Blender, then put into the other one.
It's super nice. Even works across branches. So you can get cherry pick and the hash of the ID, and it's just gonna bring it in.
I can probably try quickly just to try to arbitrarily cherry pick a commit from master to 2.83.
Okay.
If you have the time, just.
We have the time. Do you have the time though?
Well, I can if you wrap it up, so it's fine. For instance, we're in master.
Yes. Are you sharing the screen? Yes.
Yeah, I am.
Yes. Yeah.
I know I am. No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
And so we are in master. We have here a few branches. In this case, let's go to the problem is right now, I think almost everything that we have in master, we probably have in the 2.83
already.
Release already, yeah. Not everything, good, not everything.
Okay, what is this? What we're looking is like you did git diff.
Oh, sorry, I'm typing a bunch of stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, just go.
So I did a git diff, which is to show the difference between two branches.
Yeah.
And I did from the origin, which is the repository, as is the Blender the upstream.
Yeah. Release,
and master, which is the other branch we're comparing.
So we are comparing the Blender branch that is especially made for the release. It's Blender-B283-release, and it's the same for previous releases.
Yes. I can even, honestly, I should have done this before.
Like you need to go to that branch.
So this branch has like those changes. And let's say I can do it. Let's say I want to change something that's going to be super harmless. Oh no, this is not even the... Okay. Go here, and then let's say... And I won't really commit this, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Please don't commit this. Okay, here. And then I'm going to say... Git
add CMake list is adds the change.
Sorry, Pablo, I'm being... Sorry.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
So I added the thing to, in this way, when you do git status, it shows everything that you changed that's already reserved to be committed. I can even check what was it with this command. Git diff cached. I'm going to create a commit, and this is something really nice about Git, that it has a separation between the commit and pushing the commit upstream.
Unlike SVN, for example, where
like SVN, that the moment you commit is already gone.
Yeah.
So you can work offline and then send or change upstream.
Yes.
So please don't commit.
-M is for the message.
The message, yeah. So I could do also the way I did originally, showing the VI, but so now on Blender 2.83, we have this commit which is only on this branch. So if I go back to master, so the dash goes back to the previous
branch.
Branch. We don't have that commit, of course. And now we can cherry pick it. Cherry pick. Can be many different ways. I'm gonna do the simple way, just doing the whole branch full name.
Cherry pick.
And it just it. So this was an example of technically a merge. Of course, a super simple one. So there's no conflicts.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna revert this commit.
When you don't specify, when you cherry pick and don't specify you just give it the whole branch. What is it? It's just picks.
It's the head. It's the latest. It takes the latest commit
okay.
there. So what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna actually write my own changes here. This is only for master. It shouldn't be changed. Like this line, like so this code, yeah. Right? And then I'm gonna also add something here. Life is wonderful in quarantine.
It is actually. We can't complain.
It is. I mean, the feel here is incredible, Pablo. So I'm gonna add my changes. Bang. Beautiful. Master deserves its own changes. Right?
Yes.
Now if I try to do the cherry pick or the merge, which is here. Now it should complain. Bang.
Oof. What
Cannot
happened?
apply. Because there is a conflict. What do you mean by conflict? Because both files, both commits kind of clashed, right? So now there are a few ways of fixing the commit. You just open a file and it's gonna show here.
Oh yes. The other day actually there was a commit in an add-on that had that part, the head.
Yes. It's a bit sad every time it happens.
Yes, it's really sad.
But look at this, very interesting. This was not conflicting. The whole life is wonderful in quarantine.
Why?
So this Git knew that okay, these ones are actually totally safe. There's no conflict in this part of the code of this change. But these ones that you got inside, they want to leave both of the comments. Don't leave only the one in master. Or do you want to think a bit further and ignore it, what I did? Because now I'm going to open meld.
Meld.
And I'm going to now share my screen again.
Another screen.
So you might want to stop sharing the screen.
So meld is we're going to live fix a conflict.
that's a bit of too much hype for something that's really... But this just showed the example of tools that developers they have like for their work.
Yeah.
So again, the other change, the life is wonderful. What is it?
It's under
here.
Yes.
It's not even mentioned. It's went totally smooth.
Yes.
And for those things here, now we get to decide. Okay, take this and actually leave this here. Yeah.
You can edit it right there.
Yeah.
So basically,
there's a smarter way to use meld, which is to use. I think it can take it actually does a better way, but anyways, this doesn't have to show the
three-way. Three-way fixing or something like that.
Yeah, there's a way to actually show the other one, the third one.
Yeah. No, you don't.
But I haven't used melding forever, to be honest.
Yeah, there are other tools for this too. But basically, this is how you fix it. And why there was a conflict? Because there was two commits making a change in the same line.
Oh, sorry, forgot to stop sharing my screen.
It's okay. I go back. So basically, that's about fixing and merging fixes. So I think we're good. When I do a few more questions, do you have time?
Yeah. Oh, I do, Pablo.
Okay, let's do 3 more questions, no 5s. All right. So because we're already late. Actually, we started late and with the audio issue, so we should do 5. Let's do 5. All right. So next, can we have feature request? Next, is it possible to move upon another Blender question? Another Blender question. I have two code-related questions. Yes, Emi Martinez. For viewport optimization, is it too difficult to add occlusion culling for Eevee?
What is
occlusion culling? Is when whatever is not on the view doesn't get calculated. Isn't that what happens already? Kind of.
I don't even know. Maybe, but you still would need to bypass this for the probes and everything else, of course.
Ah, yeah, that's a problem.
But the probe, I think. But anyway, I think we do it already. Some kind of occlusion.
Yeah, and there is even like you can. From the camera, when you render, you can overscan to give it a bit more for the screen space options. Filters, but you can find it here in the render performance. I think it's somewhere here. You can see overscan, and you can give it a percentage that will render outside of the view. But I think it's even there, like optimization, and we need to ask Clement. So maybe you can go to DevTalk to ask that one. So it is possible to add coding a separate option for Eevee viewport quality setting, texture limit size, and anti-aliasing, and Eevee final render, like a simplify option, you mean, for Eevee?
Yeah, or not. A simplify also is used for rendering, right?
Both for viewport and render, yes.
It should be possible. It's the kind of thing that the challenge is to design it well from the interface perspective. So it's more a UX problem than the code in Blender itself.
UX will be a huge issue because we already do that in the simplify panel of cycles, where we have for the viewport and the render a maximum texture limit. So just following, like if you don't know how to tackle the UI, just look at other parts of Blender and do it.
Yeah, it's more like for me, whenever I see these kind of things, it's important to know why does Martinez need that. If it's because, for instance, right now in Eevee, depending on the settings, when you're trying to texture paint, you get a lot of ghosting. You get a lot of problems, and same for sculpting. So you're gonna see some artists changing the anti-aliasing level to 0 or changing the viewport samples to 1 just so it can sculpt, and they have to roll it back for the final render. So this is a different solution. This requires a different UI UX solution than someone like using Eevee for a final render, but that's a bit with heavy textures and heavy aliasing. Just need something lighter to animate. So that's what I mean by it's a bit it would be interesting to nail down the design first before dive into the implementation.
Yeah. So in the chat, Ron SN is correcting me, says that regarding the merge, that I said that the merge conflict happened because there was the same change there was a change in 2 commits affecting the same line, and he says not in the same file, not in the same line. And no, actually it's in the same line. You can change things in the same file as much as you want, but if they're not overlapping, there was not going to be a conflict. Usually that gets fixed automatically.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. Git is quite smart in that regard. You can even rename functions, and it can take a lot of things. So whenever it conflicts, you should take it seriously, because I've seen more than once in Blender we see it happening when someone tried to fix a merge conflict, and then end up losing some functionality that was fixed for something in the past.
Yes. So Antonio says in the same section of the code. Yes.
Yeah,
all right. So next question. Karik says, where should we suggest ideas for Blender Today topics? Here in Blender Today. For example, I think a Q&A episode for each major section of Blender will be great, where we ask to section-specific questions. Actually, that's what we're doing with Blender every day. We have basically I just come up with a topic or something that I see on the comments. I always ask people to write comments in the videos. I read all of the comments, as sometimes I don't have the time to answer all of them, but I read them. So if you write like suggestions for the topic for episodes, I'm gonna be there reading them. I usually give it a thumbs up though. The actual question is has there been any discussion about changing the default scene? It's not really
at the moment, no.
No. The cube, why would you change the cube? It's fine. It's lovely. Next question. So is there a good reference for adding shader nodes?
Yes,
A
you
reference.
go over shader node that's recent enough. So how to go about that? And maybe go to the folder where all the shaders are, and try to do some kind of a git log and see, okay, which one was changed more recently and not, and then try to
Shader.
see if some of them are isolated enough.
Like go to see the emission shader, for example. That should be fairly straightforward.
The problem is that the old
Diffuse.
ones, and the emission shader is probably one of those, there was the original commit, and then there was a few changes on top of it. So only looking at the original commit might not be enough, but it's definitely a good start. Try to look at the ones with the least parameters, with the one that's the simplest one. That way, the emission shader is a really good example indeed.
Yeah, because you don't have many options. But yeah, it makes sense. Good point. Good. I didn't know that one. So yeah, basically, you just go to the shader nodes and find one that is fairly recent or fairly simple to add.
Shader nodes. Where are the shader nodes on? You're talking about the one for cycles?
Oh,
You're here, right?
Either. Or even.
Gosh, I can't. My cell phone is here, like in front of the screen. Also, friends, I was saying, if you go here and do a git log, and they're gonna show what happened, which changes happened here in this code, and then maybe we'll probably look for new.
I like new shader. New,
and then it's already like
new
2018 now. Or do like this one line and see which one's around.
All right.
It really it comes down to find the nodes that you think it's simple enough. Try to copy every instance of this shader without thinking about the functionality first, and then later you're gonna find this one black box part that defines the functionality, and you change it.
Yeah. Awesome. So in the chat, Heis wrote, found the code, the piece of code. So awesome. Congrats. Yeah, looking forward to the patch. And Yuda Neem says, is there a way to add Unity with Blender inside of Unity? Yes. Ask Unity developers to open source.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a license issue, right? Because
yeah, that's a problem. The license issue is Blender is GPL and Unity has to be, or at least the bridge has to be.
And Unity doesn't support Python, I believe. It's only C# and Objective-C. I forgot the other one.
Yeah.
Which means you cannot even use Blender as a Python module.
Eek.
You could, yeah, it'd be tricky to do it. It could. It's not what you really want, so no.
Nope. Next question. Okay, that was number 3. Number 2. So let's for Don asks, what editor are you using for C and C++? How many lines of code are there? Lines of code. That's millions.
Let me share the VS Code again.
VS Code. Yes.
So stop showing my thing, and then I can.
Yeah, you're.
Next time I can maybe do it in a different way even. So I like just a casual file here, 4,000 lines, like that.
In where? In that one file.
Yeah.
But usually it's like millions.
At some point, if the file is too big, it should probably be broken down into smaller files. We don't do it very often, but we should.
Split it into small. Yeah, I've seen it in the code quality days that some developers are doing it. I think I saw Pablo Vazquez doing it a few times with some brushes that at the beginning were just settings, and then it's like, okay, it has to be its own file. So those commits are a good example where to look at.
Yeah, I was trying to find it. But sometimes even if the file is not big enough, if that's the one, yeah, that's the one. So this is a file regarding alignment. So there's a bug, I'm looking at this. It's a bug on the scale to fit, where basically it works pretty well if there's a space in the words, otherwise it doesn't.
Otherwise it doesn't work.
That's simple. Yeah, otherwise it doesn't work. So an oversight when I implemented this back in the days, with an oversight on my end on testing. And it's interesting because it's very isolated. So it's one function that does that. But as you can see, the more I scroll, it's a really big function. So this should be refactored so badly.
Eek. Yeah,
Oh
font.
my god. So that's a function, right? So this function, it starts on the line 713.
What?
Yep.
Is that all one function?
And it goes all here. It goes all the way here. So we're talking about
Almost
900 lines of function.
2 years ago, you made a commit text improvements to vertical alignment. That was you, the last guy.
Yeah. Well, this line at least, but yeah, this
is that something that somebody from the community could do as a patch, splitting that one function into multiple parts just to get familiar with the code?
It's probably not easy to do, but definitely if it's well done. Just is like that's everything you shouldn't do. It's been done here. It shouldn't. It's too big. It's too hard to manage. Too hard to maintain. And an issue like the one I was explaining should be very easy to fix. And I think I can do it relatively easily. But you shouldn't have to go through 800, 900 lines just to understand the logic of something. So yeah. It's probably not the most interesting. So if someone were to do it, I would recommend actually someone to try to fix the bug.
Oh.
And then while trying to fix a bug, try to comment the code with your own findings, maybe break it down. And then you can then think about this as two separate contributions to the Blender source code. The refactor, and then after that, the bug fix. That said, I'm probably going to be the one fixing the bug, so just don't feel bad if you try to do it and then some of the work is doesn't make it Blender.
Julian ISO, developer of Blender UI, is just jumping into the chat to say that Blender is 2.13 million lines of code. 2.13. That's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is OpenHAV. So okay. What?
No. This is if you want to know how big something, you can just do something like this and then do. Also make 1700 lines. That's all.
And you can do that for.
And he can probably do in a way that's for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Millions of lines. Oh my god.
Yeah, millions of lines. Okay, so the last question, because we are already way past time. So I'm a teacher and love 2.8, but the computers on school are from the year 2000. Can you make a model and a small render version for schools? Please, not even 32-bit Blender 2.7 works. It's great for teaching. Can you make a model and small render version for schools?
A model of
yeah, that's tricky. So you can still get every Blender version. Like probably for a computer from the 2000, it would be good if you use Blender maybe 249 or even Blender 249 should work, I think. In year 2001 and 2 I started using Blender with Blender 2.23, which is not even available here. So in a computer from the year 2000, you're gonna be able to at least use one of these ones here, like 2.828, maybe all the way to 2.949b. All right, that was the last question. So no, not the last question. Actually, we have a few more questions, but I think we are way over time. Let's see how far. 1 hour 22. It's like watching a film. Who's gonna watch this thing? I hope you find it interesting. Actually, in the chat, Vidutam Katkar says, this is really good, Pablo, where we get to hear the Dalai's thought process to troubleshoot and navigate through the code.
Yeah, there's a
I love your struggle.
I don't know how to say this name, sorry. Vidutan. I think I mentioned there's you can see the previous code dive episode in Blender Every Day.
Yes.
There was also a video with a more extensive coverage of the process. It was a 3.5-hour long video. That's my process though. There's also an interesting one from Jack. And I'll be interested to see next time Pablo we do it. I should prepare myself a bit more, so sorry about that. But it'll be interesting to see what people would like to see, because I think it was very nice to show the whole Blender in the first episode.
Yep.
This one, I think, maybe I like a bit the focus. So, in that sense.
No, I mean, I always thought of it as a patch review / of a thing for people that already want to contribute code.
Good point.
But we could also have other developers in other areas that maybe are more focused, like how to add I think once we get like the particle nodes in Blender, we can talk about a node, how is a node, how to add a node and stuff, and we can get for that we can get Jack.
Those parts are interesting, like the compositor. It's probably interesting to a bit complex, but to show what again is every single part of Blender that needs to be changed to add a node.
Yeah,
maybe people appreciate to see like a little bit again, see to how to navigate into the Blender code, but it was something more tangible with a specific example.
In the Blender Developers YouTube channel, you're gonna find a Blender by fixing 3.5 hours of Dalai going, like a really thought process, non-edited anything, just pure raw fixing a bug. Super nice. There are chapters where you can go choose and go jump into the different parts of the video, and there is also a bug fixing overview done by a while ago by Jack Luke, developer of the nodes in Blender, the everything nodes. So it's also very interesting. It's both sides. One is the overview and one is the other full-on 3.5 hours, and you're already yawning from hearing the 3.5 hours.
No, it's oxygen.
Oxygen. Because we closed the window. I have the window open though.
Yeah, but there was some
sound,
some cars going by.
I like this chill approach though, chatting and stuff. I hope people liked it as well. It's been a lovely chat around code. I know what you say about, like it would be nice if people could say exactly what they want, like what is it, an add-on. If you want to learn how an add-on is written, you can find in this channel, in the Blender Foundation YouTube channel, the tutorials by Zebran. It's called Scripting for Artists. It's also a playlist you can find here about how to write an add-on, and previous episodes cover how to write an operator, how to access them and stuff, all in Python. This one, maybe we could do something in A, how to write an operator in C. Bam.
Yeah, maybe that's this right. So how to, it can be the simplest one.
Yes. And
so it could still fit within 1 hour. No?
Absolutely. So give us some ideas in the comments below once this live stream is over. I think we can call it a day, productive day. Thank you, Dalai, for staying.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, everyone, for dropping by. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Thank you very much. So, community, I'm gonna see you back live again on Friday for Blender Today 100. I still don't know exactly what it's gonna be about.
Oh, if you don't have any idea, it's gonna be me interviewing you, Pablo. So
is it?
Try to get some ideas.
I need to get some ideas. I mean, we're gonna cover Blender stuff anyway, but I don't know. It's just
come on, it's 100. You can do something. I'm telling you, if there's no idea, maybe bring people over.
100 live streams. 100. Sitting here, turning on the computer. Maybe we can talk about the story of Blender today. You don't have to. Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to interview me, that's will be fine. But we
reaction videos.
Reaction videos. 1 hour. So we what?
100 hours. 100 hours watching.
200, because I also do this in Spanish, and that has actually 104 episodes or so. Anyway, thank you. I will upload the recap video soon, so stay tuned and subscribe to the Blender Foundation YouTube channel, this channel, if you haven't already. Give it a thumbs up to this video, subscribe, press the notification icon if you want to know when it's the next live stream. Gracias, Dalai, obrigado.
Yeah, my pleasure. De nada.
De nada. All right, so you can hear this music, but in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, I'm getting blast when I hear. Gracias, Dalai. See you soon in a couple days.
Sí, Pablo, nos vemos. Bye bye.
Bye bye, community. Ciao.